Yeah, bro. Let's get started.
Sure, Prabhuji. Sudev Saki Mataji, you can ask question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So could you please explain today's quote on chanting?
Yeah, Mataji.
Today's quote on chanting, Prabhu, could you explain?
Okay, let's read again. The quote on chanting. This chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is enacted from spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. So, generally, in human body, there are different levels of consciousness. The animalistic level of consciousness is sensual. So simply interested in sense satisfaction of the senses. So most of the people in this world who live for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, they are on the sensual platform. Because eating, sleeping, sex, defense is nothing but related to senses only. So people who are on the sensual platform, they may think, oh, what is the difference between chanting Hare Krishna or chanting or uttering any other sound vibration? Like, one time a person asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, what is the difference between chanting Hare Krishna and chanting Coca-Cola? I can chant Coca-Cola, you're chanting Hare Krishna, what is the difference? So people who are on the sensual platform, they have absolutely no idea. They cannot understand only what is so special or significant on Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that is sensual. And mental is, people who are on the level of mind, they think that sound vibration, is more or less something similar to the karmis only, or the people who are on the sensual platform. Little better than that, but on the level of mind also, they give different interpretations to the holy name. So say for example, the Prabhupada, mentions in some of the lectures that sometimes people like to give interpretation to Bhagavad Gita. Krishna means soul. 5 Pandavas means 5 senses in the body. And this body, the chariot. So they give all kinds of nonsensical interpretation. So similarly, they give some interpretation to the holy name as well. But this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra actually surpasses all these levels of sensual, mental, and intellectual also. Intellectually, people may try to analyze. People who are intellectual, they try to analyze the benefits of the chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Like, sometime, like I heard somebody had posted that in Europe, some doctor, Indian doctor, he actually started, propagating in the hospitals that this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra helps you to even recover the diseases very quickly. So this is more intellectual, analysis of the sound vibration. So he was making his patients chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which is good in one way, but analysis in that way is considered intellectual. So one doesn't need sensual, mental, or intellectual analysis of the holy name. Whether one has ability or no ability, all he needs is the facility to chant and ears to hear the holy name. That's all is required. So that's what it means. It actually transcends sensual, mental, and intellectual, strata or levels of consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhu. I have another question. I'll ask later.
Sure,
Radhakund Mataji, you can ask question.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, actually, when we are reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, I have been seeing so much information about Gandhi. So, is Srila Prabhupada really influenced by Gandhi at that time?
Sorry, Mati, what you saying?
He was working with actually Gandhi at that time, Srila Prabhupada, because in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, regarding Gandhi was mentioning, I mean, so much information about Gandhi, right? So, Srila Prabhupada influenced by Gandhi at that particular time?
Yes, Prabhupada was very much, influenced in the beginning of his life by Mahatma Gandhi. Like he was thinking that we should actually work for the independence of the country. Yeah. So he was a kind of a supporter for Gandhi's movement.
But spiritually, Gandhi was not, on Bhagavad Gita, his views was not right?
That's what we will understand when we go forward in the Lilamrit. When Prabhupada meets Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he forgets all the Gandhi movement and everything, and says that it's all nonsense. There's no significance of Gandhi's movement.
Okay.
After meeting his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Prabhupada realized that.
So all this before he met Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Yeah, Prabhuji, small request, Prabhuji. Brihad Bhagavatamrita. I mean, I was very late joining this group, so I did miss lot of text. So I just want the link for that, Prabhuji, just to go through the whatever I missed. So is there any way that I could get the?
Sure, Madhi. I think Vijay Prabhu has a summary he keeps posting from time to time. So whatever portion we have covered, I think he has a small summary of it. I'll ask him to repost.
Yeah, Prabhuji. I can also request him on the WhatsApp group so that maybe.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, we posted a book on our WhatsApp group, Mataji, so some days back. So if you scroll through 3-4 days back, you should be.
No, that is Chaitanya Bhagavata, right? No, recently we have started on Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's, right?
Yes, that only. Mataji.
And that is, I'm talking about Brihad Bhagavatamrita Sanatana Goswami.
Summary of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So Vijay Prabhu keeps posting, right, from time to time, that what we have read so far.
Yes.
Yeah. So that Vijay Prabhu will post again.
Yeah. And you can buy it from Amazon also, Mataji. Bhagavatamrita book. I think Vijay Prabhuji can provide the detail, or I can provide you later.
Yeah, I want to go through in detail, Prabhuji, not the summary. Like how we are reading the summary, Prabhuji, or we are reading in detail?
We're reading in detail, Mataji. But if you want to read details, then you have to have the book and you can continue reading.
Yeah, Prabhuji. So Amazon, do we get from Amazon, Prabhuji, that book?
Yes, Mataji. Vijay Prabhu or Sachin Haribhu can help you.
Sure, Prabhuji. I will request them. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Prabhuji, I have some follow-up on that. Can I ask you, Prabhu?
Sure, Prabhu.
Is the Prabhupada's views on Gandhi's Gita is like not right? I mean, Prabhupada consider views of Mahatma Gandhi and Gita is not correct, or independence movement is not correct? Which is, is our Bhakti movement, does it consider political independence is important or not important, Prabhu?
No, that's what in the first meeting of Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur actually clarified Prabhupada. Prabhupada actually mentioned to Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. When Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur instructed him that you are a young man, why don't you, dedicate your life for preaching the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking world. But Srila Prabhupada argued that we are a dependent nation. First of all, we should support Gandhi and get the independence for the country. Then people will actually value otherwise people will not value our, teachings of Gita and Bhagavatam. So that Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur mentioned that the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are the most urgent need of the society. They cannot wait for any change in political situation of the country. Srila Bhakti Thakur mentioned that in one way he actually said that whose ruling is actually not of much significance. What is most important is to spread the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, because that's what you see, whether Prabhupada actually another instance, when he was talking to disciple, he said, this minister or that minister, your condition remains same. First somebody else was there, and he promised so many things, but when he's gone, another minister comes, your situation remains same only. You are struggling in the same way. So they cannot really help in any way to improve your situation. What can actually help to improve our situation is Krishna consciousness, by which we can perfect our life and go back home, back to God. Yeah. So it has some significance in its own way, but absolute perspective, it is useless. Who rules it doesn't really matter.
So I totally agree who rules, but if you look at the current Indian landscape, so what is happening is ruling class and the propagation missionary activities are strongly interlinked. Is it not?
Which
Anyway,
is,
but this is not related to bhakti. I don't want to prolong it. If you want to take it offline, we can take it offline, Prabhu. So, but my only point is, bhakti requires an environment that can be fostered better if ruling like either neutral or like leaning towards bhakti fostering. But if it is acting against it, then it is may not be. I mean, we may not be able to propagate bhakti. So that is my limited point, Prabhu. That's.
see, I definitely that is there. If the ruling, king or whoever government is ruling, if they are averse to Krishna consciousness, if they are actually opposing the spread of Krishna consciousness, then definitely it becomes a little challenge. But you see, during British rule, though British was actually a demoniac rule in one way, but still, you see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because ultimately we should remember one thing, that Krishna is in the heart of every living entity. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was working as a magistrate for British government, and he could create so much impact to the Vaishnava communities, to the Vaishnava movement. In fact, Srila Prabhupada, gave so much credit to Bhaktivinoda Thakur for creating kind of a, foundation for this Krishna consciousness movement in one way, by giving a lot of literature, and discovering the Yoga Peeth temple for, the Vaishnavas. So he actually did so much, creating the foundation of this movement. And then infrastructure was given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And Srila Prabhupada actually took that infrastructure and implemented all over the world. So even though the British was ruling, and British was kind of a demoniac rule, which was very much hateful to Vaishnava culture, but still Bhaktivinoda Thakur could create so much impact. And so many Gaudiya Vaishnavas, like there is an instance also of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's Matha. Subhash Chandra Bose, he actually went to Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's Matha, and he told Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur that, why don't you give your, you have so many young men here. I want these young men to recruit my army, and they can fight for the country's independence. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he actually made some of the disciples stand up. They were all skinny and thin. He said, for your army, these people are actually useless. See, they are skinny. They hardly have any muscles, or they really can't do anything. Why don't you go and recruit somewhere else? They are actually useless for your army purpose. So Subhash Chandra Bose left actually. But you just see Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he created so much impact. He was spreading Krishna consciousness during the British rule. So it actually doesn't really matter because Krishna is there in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Yes, demoniac rule generally creates obstacles, but by Krishna's mercy, all the obstacles can be removed. It is always better to have a ruling, of Vaishnava or somebody at least who's neutral or conducive for Krishna consciousness. But if that is not there, one should not dedicate one's time and energy 100% just trying to change that, because that changing happens, by the force of time. It doesn't happen just simply by our desire. I hope that makes sense.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
One should not dedicate one's all energy to change the political situation. If we can contribute something toward that direction, it's good. But our main focus should be to enhance our and everyone around us in their Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Tamila Mataji, you can ask question.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Can you please tell Tulsi Maharani story and her incarnation and all this, please? I would love to hear it from you.
Well, it's very detailed, but I'll try to summarize shortly. So, is in the spiritual world. And one time, Krishna was in the association of Vrinda Devi, to see, and Radharani. This is actually nothing but Krishna's will or Krishna's desire to bring his associates to on his pastime. Because when the time for Krishna's incarnation comes, when Krishna makes arrangement that all his devotees also should accompany and come to this world. So, when the time was coming closer, by Krishna's inspiration, Krishna was sitting with Vrinda Devi, and Radharani happened to come, and then Krishna, ran away, disappeared out of fear that Radharani should not get angry. But then Radharani became angry on Vrinda Devi. She cursed Vrinda Devi that you should go to the material world, go and take birth in the material world. Sridhama happened to be there. When he heard this curse, Sridhama is brother of Radharani. So he thought, unnecessarily she's cursing Vrinda Devi. So he told her, that why you unnecessarily cursing her? Radharani became very angry and she told Sridhama, I curse you also become a demon and go to the material world. And then Sridhama happened to curse Radharani in return that you will also go to the material world and you will experience immense separation from Krishna. So this is all nothing but under Yogamaya, Krishna's Yogamaya. This is not hatred involved anywhere. It's not that Radharani was hateful to Vrinda Devi or Sridhama was hateful or Radharani is hateful to Sridhama. No. There was no such hatred. It was just by the inspiration of the Supreme Lord. Just like Jai Vijay getting cursed and coming to the material world. So similarly, the Lord made arrangement. So Sridhama appeared as Shankachuda, and Vrinda Devi, she appeared in the material world as Tulsi, and she got Vrinda Devi or Tulsi Devi. Jalandhar was
Vrinda.
Yeah, Jalandhar was with Vrinda and Shankachuda was with Tulsi. So yeah, so she became Tulsi. She came as a Tulsi in this world and she got married to Shankachuda. So Shankachuda was practically invincible. He was Sridhama, but he was practically invincible. So the only way to kill Shankachuda was to spoil the chastity of Tulsi. So Lord Vishnu, he took the responsibility because Krishna is the same Lord, Shri Vishnu. So he took the form of Shankachuda and he spoiled the chastity of Tulsi, and then Lord Shiva actually killed Shankachuda. So then, Lord Vishnu actually gave blessings to Tulsi Devi that because he spoiled the chastity of Tulsi, he said this will be regarded as a marriage. So therefore, in the remembrance of that, we have Tulsi Shaligram Vivaha. The Tulsi is actually married to Lord Vishnu in the form of Shaligram Shila. So that festival we celebrate every year in remembrance of that particular pastime.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Radharani loves Tulsi?
Sorry?
Radharani, she loves Tulsi?
Yeah, they are actually both, intimate friends. So there is no question of any hatred. In fact, uh, there is, I don't recollect exactly, but I think Radharani recommended some of the devotees to worship. No, Purnamasi actually advised Radharani to worship Tulasi
Wow.
to attain favor of Krishna. So she worships
Wow.
Tulasi as well. Srimati Radharani also worships Tulasi. Because she
Wow.
knows Tulasi is very dear to Krishna.
And how does she worship Tulasi? In what way?
There is a detailed description in Garga Samhita on how she worshipped Tulasi. She actually followed Vrata on worshipping Tulasi Devi.
What is
So
it?
the Prabhupada gave the summary of that is to mainly water the Tulasi and offer every day Aarti to Tulasi with flowers, ghee lamp and incense. Offer simple Aarti every day to Tulasi and water the Tulasi. That is the Vrata. That is the way of worshipping Tulasi every day, which Prabhupada has given us.
Thank you, Prabhu, very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
I
Krishna.
have a follow-up on this. Because when Tulsi descends, right? I mean, here we see different kinds of Tulsi trees. So all of them are considered the expansions of the Tulsi. I mean,
Yes, they're all expansion of Tulasi.
some basil, Thai basil tree, something I'm saying. So they're also considered, or how?
Mainly, we are talking about Rama and Krishna Tulasi.
Okay.
The one Tulsi and different Tulsi are there, but I think they may be coming in the same category, but as a plant. But Tulsi Maharani, the incarnation of Tulsi Maharani is the Ram and Krishna Tulsi that we, use in Krishna in worship of deities.
Okay, so then these Tulsi leaves may not be fit for offering, Prabhuji?
Yes, generally other Tulsi, like I remember, they say even European Tulsi and this Tulsi, or even they have some basil leaves which they use for, so the seeds of that basil also looks very much similar to Tulsi, but they're not really Tulsi.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Really.
Chingita Mataji, you can ask question.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. I'm asking this on behalf of a friend. Her question was, why do we not get instant reaction for any karma? Like, why does it fructify later or sooner? Hare Krishna Prabhu, I cannot hear.
Just a minute, Mataji. We can as well. Shankaran Prabhuji. Just wait for 2-3 minutes, Mataji. We lost Prabhuji. it seems.
Sure, Prabhu.
I'm trying to contact Prabhuji. Just a
Can you hear me now?
minute.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I somehow lost the voice, but yeah. Sorry, Mati, I didn't hear your question. It was lost in between. The voice was lost in between.
Okay, sure, Prabhu. So, Prabhuji, I'm asking this on behalf of a friend. Her question was, why do we not get instant reaction for any karma? Like, why does it fructify sooner or later? Like, it's very dynamic in this way.
Then karma is the reactions of the different karma is categorized in different categories. So it's mainly in 4 categories. The karma, the karmic reaction is categorized in 4 categories. One is called instant reaction, other is called delayed reaction. And then there is individual reaction and collective reaction. That's how a person receives the karmic reaction of the activities that individually does. So instant reaction means we do some activity and the result comes practically instantaneously. Or
Example, Prabhuji, example, please.
yeah. So for example, say if somebody speaks harsh word to wife, the reaction comes instantly, practically instantly. Okay, but delayed reaction means, if a person does something now, because every activity that we do, it takes the form of a seed. So seeds, different seeds have different time of fructification. For example, if you plant banana seed, you will have practically banana in a year or 2. But if you plant, say, coconut tree, it will take 7-8 years to get a first coconut from the tree. So fructification of different seeds take different time. So similarly, everyone, whatever activity the person does, it takes different seeds, and every seed will take different time to fructify. And this is, explained in a beautiful example of Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra, when after the battle of Kurukshetra, his 100 sons died, he asked some Trikalagya, some astrologer who could see past, present, and future. He says, sir, I have been a pious person. I have never done anything. I heard that many lifetimes in the past, I never did any sinful activities. So why is it that my sons died? I have to suffer the pain of my 100 sons being killed. So this Jochi actually told him that you may know only few lifetime, but I know that long ago, even if some 50 lifetimes ago, you had been a hunter and you killed the 100 offsprings of an ostrich. And as a result of that, you are supposed to suffer the loss of 100 children. So Dhritarashtra asked that, well, okay, but if that happened 50 lifetimes ago, then why have to suffer in this lifetime? You could have suffered immediately after some other lifetime in the past. So the Jochi said, yes, you could have suffered, but in order to even have one child, you have to accumulate some good karma. So all these lifetimes, you are accumulating some good karma to have 100 children who should be killed. So see, that's how the karma actually becomes very complicated. If a person does some activity, sinful activity for which he's supposed to suffer, but if he doesn't have the karma to have, in this case, for example, Dhritarashtra doesn't have karma to have 100 children. Okay, so why he'll get 100 children to get suffered? First, he has to work very hard to have karma to have 100 children. So that it creates a lot of attachment for him because he has worked very hard to get those 100 children. In all these lifetimes, he's performed pious activity to have those children. And therefore, he develops attachment. And attachment comes, and suffering comes when there is, loss of those children. It's a very complicated, mesh of karma. That's individual and collect. That is, what we call instant and delayed karma. And then there is individual and collective karma. Individual karma is I did something wrong, so I suffered for that. But few people together do something, they suffer together for that. Like say, for example, in slaughterhouse, there are few people who are working in slaughterhouse. So they are together doing the same kind of sinful activity. They're killing so many animals on daily basis. So all such people, they develop similar karma that they should be collectively killed because they're doing exactly same karma, killing so many people, so many animals. So nature brings them together in the form of some calamity or war and kills them wholesale. That's called collective karma. But individually, if I did something wrong, then I suffer individually from that.
Does this apply to a family also, Prabhuji? Like a wife does something wrong, I mean, some sinful activity, and a husband and son also suffers. Like suppose if I take my example, I mean, and my husband does something sinful activity, so do I need to suffer and my son also has to suffer or something like that?
Children generally are susceptible to sins of the parents till the age of, I think, 20. That's Parashar Muni's view.
20, Prabhuji? 20?
Yeah, till the age of 20. That's Parashar Muni says that children are generally susceptible to the sins of their parents till the age of 20. So yes, they can get affected by the sins of parents. But in general, the wife doesn't get, so much affected by the sins of the husband, but husband does get affected by the sins of wife. Because at the time of marriage, husband, like a guru, he accepts the sins of wife.
So Prabhuji, if this law, it's always confusing for me, this law of karma, how does it work? Like, Dhritarashtra, he's a virtue, pious soul, so he inquired about his, what sinful act he must have done in his previous birth or something. He came to know about that. But in our cases, like, we are suffering so much, like, in different kinds of diseases and all that. So we don't know what we have done in our previous births. So how do we realize? Suppose I am suffering, and I don't know what I have done for this suffering in my previous lives, and how do I realize my mistake? If I had known my mistake, like okay, I have done this bad activity, because of that I am suffering right now. If I know that I won't be able to, there is a possibility that I won't be able to again recommit that mistake, right, Prabhuji? But what is the use? I mean, 100 years back I have done something and I am now suffering now, and I don't even know what kind of sinful activity I have done previously. So instant is always better, right, Prabhuji? So that immediately realization comes, right, Prabhuji?
That is our understanding, right? Instant is better or delayed is better. That, more or less our mental, what do you call, speculation in one way. But actually speaking, the law of karma designed by the Supreme Lord himself, he knows exactly what is required, when is required. As far as our knowing is concerned, that's not really of any importance. Why I'm suffering? Say, for example, when I'm diseased, I remember in 1995, I was very sick, very sick. Constantly, I was falling sick with malaria. So when I was sick, I didn't really care how I got this malaria. What did I do wrong because of which I'm suffering so much? Just imagine, whenever you are sick, do you really care how I got this infection? No. The whole focus is how I can get relief from this infection. So why I'm suffering, what did I do wrong is really not the significant or important question at all. The important question is, what can I do now? How can I get relief from this disease condition right now? That's an intelligent question. If the patient goes to doctor and he starts saying, I want to know how I became sick. Doctor say, here, take the medicine, you'll be cured. No, I want to know how I got sick. So that is not really important. That's not really intelligent. Intelligent is, the disease is there and remedy is there. So let me take the remedy and get cured from the disease.
If there is no remedy, Prabhuji, if there is no remedy,
there is a remedy for every infection in the material existence. And the holy name of the Lord is actually the panacea. It's a one remedy which works or uproots all the diseases from the root. So biggest infection that we have is, the infection of karma that we accumulated since millions of lifetimes, and the desires for material enjoyment, which is giving birth to different karmas. So if we simply take the shelter of the holy name of Krishna, it uproots all the infection of different desires. So there is a remedy. A remedy is definitely there. The absolute remedy for uprooting all the diseases or material infections is actually there in the form of holy name. Now, some small disease here, like, we have this pandemic, they're saying no remedy for this, but still so many people are getting cured. And even if people are not getting cured, these pandemics and all, they come as a result of karma. And only people who are, subjected, to that karma, they get infected. Just like Haribhasha was mentioning, in the beginning when this pandemic started, he actually mentioned one shloka from somewhere, from the Puranas, that karma is like a calf. So there may be thousands of cows. The calf will find his own mother. Will have no confusion whether this is mother or not. So calf will be able to find his own mother. Similarly, karma finds exactly the person who needs to get that karmic reaction of that kind. No innocent person gets punished by the laws of karma.
so there is no use in thinking like that. I mean, what I have done in previous. So.
There is absolutely no point in thinking like that. It will only create more and more anxiety and stress in the person. So the best thing is to think of solution. When we are diseased, the first priority should be solution. And when you get cured, by Krishna's mercy, you also get to know how you actually got disease.
Oh, is that Prabhuji?
Yes, definitely. I mean, same thing, in 1995 when I was very sick. So I was wondering that, because in my whole life, I never got so sick before or even after that. So I was wondering why I got sick. But when I got cured, then I started pondering and I realized how it actually all started. So it became very clear to me, that what mistake did I do to get that infection. But that's possible only once you recover from the disease. When you're diseased, intelligence doesn't work. Because first and foremost concern is how I get cured. And Prabhupada mentioned that once we go back to the spiritual world, we will remember coming to this material world as a bad dream. We will remember it. And that's how you will never come back to the material world again.
So we will remember what we had gone through when we are in the material world, even after going to spiritual world?
Yes, we will remember slightly by mercy of Krishna as a bad dream.
I hope this bad dreams ends very soon, Prabhuji.
So all we need to do is just follow the instructions of Guru and Sadhu and Shastra, and this dream will end. And we'll live in the reality in the spiritual world.
Yes, Prabhuji. Waiting for that. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. We are actually, day by day, we are getting so much indebted to you, actually. We are not able to repay also, but thank you so much.
Prabhu, can I share one lecture piece from Radhanath Maharaj, Guru Maharaj thing?
Sorry, Prabhu?
Can I share one description by Radhanath Maharaj, Guru Maharaj?
Please go ahead.
In one of the
Prabhuji, 1 minute. Prabhuji, I need to drop. It's 8 o'clock. So there is one question from Sudev Sakhi Mataji, which we need to take. And I'll be dropping off, Prabhuji, if time permits, then it can be taken.
You can copy all the questions, remaining questions. We will take it tomorrow.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yep, Prabhuji. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Sajjan.
In one of the lectures, I think a very old lecture, I downloaded and listening. In one of the things Guru Maharaj was saying, the human life is like a rich man's son sleeping, and before sleeping he is all comforts, he is comfortable, but while he's sleeping he had a bad dream, and he is really feeling, and he's saying, please save me, and he's making all kinds of noises like, oh, somebody is coming at me and all. Then his relatives, father, everyone comes and wake him up. Hey, son, what's happening? Then he wakes up and sees entire environment is again, he see father, all that is dream he forgets, and he feels happy. Radhana Maharaj was saying like, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is like wake up, like somebody is waking up. So more you chant and you try to listen, it reaches up to the soul, then you wake up from that dream and then go to, that reminded me, this question reminded me that piece of lecture. Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Prabhu, thank you for answering the question. The example you gave of Dhritarashtra is really amazing. Thank you so much. It clears up so many things.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we can stop here.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.